الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتدي ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. ما بعد. And when I looked at the screen and I saw biolab file, I got scared a little bit. We're on. I have.
You're on now?
Yeah.
Yes, you're on. Yes.
Okay, we didn't pre-Maghrib yet.
Just cool. Yeah. I have a lecture at 7:30, and this was supposed to start at 6, so I was planning to. I did not excuse myself from there. So now they're calling me, and there's people waiting. So we thought it will be a good idea if we call them and they can listen to this lecture. Jihad, it's a very sensitive issue, and something that a lot of Muslims don't want to talk about, and a lot of non-Muslims have an idea about. So it's very important for us to understand this topic. Most of you, the non-Muslims here, have friends or classmates or neighbors or roommates, if I could say, since you're students, who are Muslims, and you might compare the news and compare what you hear in the media to your friends and know that it's really not, doesn't connect, doesn't make sense. So what I will take the opportunity tonight to explain something about us Muslims. I will talk mainly about jihad, but we have to include other ideas and other thoughts of Islam in general for us to understand even a human nature, to understand the subject and the topic objectively and impartially. Before I start, there are 4 facts we need to establish, and I don't think any one of us here disagree with those 4 facts. The first fact is every human being has the right to exist. Every human being has the right to exist. The second fact is every human being has the right to defend himself. Every human being has the right to defend himself. So if we understand those 2 facts, add to them, if you want to understand Islam, unfortunately, a lot of the Muslims who practice Islam might not represent the religion the way it should be. And this happens with a lot of religions. So don't judge the religion by an individual experience. Don't judge the religion by few people or a group here or there. You want to understand the religion and you want to judge the religion, study the religion from its original resources and original books. Then by doing that, you are doing what you're supposed to do as a student of knowledge, as an impartial and objective person, and following the scientific method, as they say. So if we establish those 3 facts, then we can march to talk about our topic, and that is jihad. The word, the etymology of the word jihad or jihad in Arabic comes from the root jahada. The root jahada, which is a verb, means to struggle, to struggle. And you will find in the Islamic definition of the word jihad, you can find 17, or I should say 13 definitions. One of them has to do with war. One of those 13 definitions has to do with war. So it's very important to understand that jihad does not really mean holy war. Actually, this holy war term was not introduced recently. This holy war term was introduced on the hands of the Catholics, the Crusaders, when the Pope and the Church starting enticing and calling the people to fight so they can rectify their sins against to recapture the Holy Land, that is Jerusalem. So the Church started calling, and that is the beginning of the Crusades, about 1026, and they did not really differentiate between Muslims and non-Muslims. If you study the Crusades, and it only takes one word, Crusades, and you can search it, you will find that they did not differentiate between Muslims, Christians who were not Catholic, Jews, any other pagans, any other religion or ideology. They did not differentiate. And that is what they called holy war. So holy war is not a definition, it's actually a meaning that we reject as Muslims on jihad. Because jihad does not mean holy war, as we will see. So if we go back to the word, the root, jahada, jahada means to struggle and to strive. So everything in your life that you have to make some effort, every time you have to struggle in any manners, that is called jihad. Okay? So when you struggle against your desires and temptations, and they're widespread, because the Muslim, the meaning of Islam and the meaning of a Muslim is to submit. Submit to what? To the will of Allah. And Allah is the God of Islam. It's the name for God. It's the name. Allah comes from the root aliha, meaning to be worshipped. So the word Allah means to be worshipped. So Allah is the only one who deserves to be worshipped. Even in the Arabic Bibles, some people say Allah is the God of moon. In the Arabic Bibles, the Bibles translated into Arabic, you'll find the word for God is Allah. Okay? So as a Muslim, you submit to the will of God. And as a Muslim, you believe that God knows what's best for you. He is the one who created you, and His orders in the Holy Book, the Quran we call, and the tradition of the Messenger, peace be upon him, and we say peace be upon him. Every time we mention a messenger or a prophet of God, we add peace be upon them all. We follow their traditions. We understand well that what's best for us is through those sources and those commands. So that is really the definition and the meaning of Islam. Yes, peace and comfort and ease come all from the same root that Islam comes from. But the meaning of Islam itself is submission. If you compare other religions, the name of other religions, you mainly find that either called after people or persons and individuals, like Christianity after Christ, Buddhism after Buddha, or it's called after a place, Hinduism, the Hindu or the Indian people, Judaism, tribe of Judah. So all these, that's the name of most religions out there. But when it comes to the religion of Islam, you find that it's an action. Islam is an action. Islam means to submit with your heart, to submit with your mind, and to submit with your faculties. So when it comes to jihad and its connection with Islam, that means I need to strive to be able to submit. I need to strive and struggle to be able to submit. Because a lot of Muslims are Muslims, but that's when you see some are practicing, some practicing less, some practicing more, because the level of striving and the level of jihad that declare on themselves. When we talk about war and the connection between the word jihad and war, there is no one is willing. Let's take the war aspect for now, for a second. No one is willing to go out and fight. No one has that capacity to fight, to leave his wealth, to leave his family, to leave his kids, to leave the food, to leave the comfortable bed, and fight where he might lose his life if he cannot fight his desires. There is no way. And if you look, whenever God or Allah mentions in the Quran about striving in the way of God, and when He talks about fighting the enemies, Usually Allah says, strive in the way of Allah with your wealth and your life. So always wealth, except in one verse in the Quran, always wealth comes before life. Because if you are not able or you're incapable of sacrificing your wealth, when we talk about wealth, don't get stuck with bank account or a house or a car. Wealth means the worldly desires and the worldly temptations. And we are not coming from Mars. Yeah, we still talk about worldly desires. Because nothing has taken this world today to the level it is if it wasn't for worldly desires. Nothing has taken or established genocides in the world in the last 100 years at least, and we'll talk about that, but human selfishness and human greed. And that is where God always emphasizes the point in the Quran, and the Messenger emphasizes the point that you need to disconnect from the world. That does not mean by any means to be heretic or to be or calling for celibacy. Yes, Muslims get married and Muslims have businesses, and Islam encourages that, and Islam wants you to enjoy your life and wants you to eat the best foods and wants you to dress very well, but they are priorities. Once you lose your priority for these things, then you are running after life. Then you become as the messenger, our messenger Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, تَعِسَ عَبْدُ الدِّرْهَمِ وَالدِّينَارِ. A loser is the slave of the dirham and dinar, where the currency is used at that time. So if I can use today's terminology, a loser is the servant of the dollar and the euro. Or should I say euro and dollar? So the issue is, any religion, or especially the Abrahamic religion as we believe, Christianity or Judaism, Christianity and Islam, are specific religions that we believe in. Even the people, the Christians and the Jews, have their own name in our scriptures, and they're called the people of the book, because we do believe the original source of Christianity and Judaism to be from God, from Allah. But other religions, many of them are man-made. So in those religions at least, there is an emphasis that you need to divorce the worldly, materialistic mentality. You take advantage of it as much as you need, as much as to be comfortable, to enjoy your life, but not to take over your heart. And as they said, make this worldly material things in your hand, not in your heart. Because when it's in your hand, you can let it go at any time. If it takes over your heart, you're done. It will control you, and it will not leave you alone until it destroys you. That requires striving and struggle. That requires a lot of jihad against yourself. So it's very important that this is one. If you look at the flyer, you see that they wrote at the bottom of it the struggle of the what did it say? The struggle of the nafs, or the struggle of the desires against your desires, is the biggest struggle or the biggest jihad. Now there is a report that supposedly the messenger of Islam said that, but it's not. It's really not authentic, but it's a saying that the real struggle or the real jihad is the jihad that you declare against yourselves and your inclinations to the material world. If you look at that, if we're going to take this expression and assume it's correct, then we understand the greatest struggle in the sense of duration. In the sense of duration, because from the time you're born until the time you die, you are suffering with this, and you have to struggle, and you have to continue resisting and striving to establish the God's law in this earth, and to follow God's orders in this earth. So that is when we talk about jihad. That is really one of the main aspects that people don't want or want to hide from you. So it's jihad, and then on it becomes holy war. So it goes from 2 syllables to 3. I don't know what it's going to be in the future. Yani faith-based opposition destruction. I don't know what they're going to call it. And if you look even in World War I, the people, the soldiers, when they come back from war, and when they're stressed out, if any psychologist or people studying psychology here, they used to call it shell shock. And it even sounds like a machine gun. Shell shock. It's the reality. That's what they were facing. Then in World War II, after a new generation came, now it's different. It's battle fatigue. Look how they changed the terms to make it more acceptable and more sympathetic. Then even did not stay like that. In the Korean War, it became operational exhaustion. And 8 syllables. Operational exhaustion sounds like something wrong with your car. That's what it is. But it's not. It's really about, that is the same thing as shell shock. Then when the Vietnamese War came, all that changed. What is it now? Post-traumatic stress disorder. It's still 8 syllables, but there's a hyphen. That is the reality. And they want, even the terminology is being changed to suit their purposes and their goals. And very important that, especially, I'm happy to be speaking here because I'm speaking to very bright and educated people. So the point is you need to search for yourself. And you need to be objective. And when they do tests in psychology and medical tests or research, they have blinded tests, right? Double-blinded, single-blinded, all that. That's today, unfortunately, when it comes to the media, that is controlled, as Muslims believe, by those who have to pass agendas against Islam. So we're not thinking about impartiality here. So it's very important that you, as a student, someone who's being objective and searching for the truth and trying to coexist, to know the reality and the truth about other people. So if you know jihad really doesn't mean holy war, then why is it this word is always popping up and coming in the media, and now it's becoming synonymous with terrorism and with suicide bombers and all that? We need to look at the reality of the word. And so now I just gave you an example. So striving against your desires is considered jihad. Striving against the devil. Yeah, Muslims do believe in the devil. Okay? Yeah, Satan, the same one who deceived Adam and got him out of paradise. Satan, who promised on himself and promised God that he will spend his whole life for deception and deceiving human beings. Of course, he won't have access to everyone's heart. If you allow him, he will have access. So the point is, you have to strive against him too. And Islam comes to direct us and to guide us how to do that. Even Satan comes to us, as our messenger tells us, to whisper to us while we're praying. And in the prayer, he comes to whisper to you, so he can lose you, wants you to lose your attention. And there's the prayer, one said, Muslims have to pray 5 times a day. So one of the prayers, it's called Dhuhr, is for prostrations, or 4 rak'ah, 4 bowings. So sometimes the shaitan and the devil will play in your head that you don't know at the end, did you do 3 or 4? So one time when 2 people were praying, one is leading and the other is following him, when they finished, the follower said, you only prayed 3. So the one who was leading said, no, I prayed 4. He said, no, I'm sure you prayed 3. He said, no, 4. He said 3. So he said, why you're so sure that we prayed 3? He said, because I have 4 businesses. And in each rak'ah, I thought about one of the businesses. So I did not get to the 4th one. That is how the devil works. When one of the Imam called Abu Hanifa, one of the greatest scholars of Islam, a man came to him and told him, I hid some stuff and some money, and I can't remember where I hid it. So tell me what to do. So Abu Hanifa told him, when everyone's sleeping, get up and pray. So the people around Abu Hanifa said, pray. How is that going to solve his problem? He's looking for something. Is there a prayer that he can make? Is there invocation he can? He said, you will see. So next day the man came and said, I found it, thank you. So when the people were surprised, they asked Abu Hanifa, he said, because the devil always trying to remind you of your wealth, especially when it comes to prayer. So I told him, go pray, because the first thing going to come to his mind, the devil will start playing with his head until he reminds you where his money is. So his whole attention is lost. Now, to resist that, that is jihad. To resist that devil and the whispering is jihad. You find chapters and chapters in the Quran, which is the holy book for Muslims, chapters talking about how to reject the whispering of the shaitan. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. It's verses after verses teaching you how to reject him. Because if he takes over your heart, you're done. Even we have a tradition of the messenger, peace be upon him, that said every human being, when he's born, he comes to this world crying. Okay? يستهل صارخا ذلك بأن الشيطان نزغ. So the Prophet of Islam teaches us why he cries. He does not cry because they slap him on his behind. He crying before. So our belief goes like this. The messenger said, because the devil is waiting right there at the exit, and he will poke this child, telling him, you're my enemy. Because he took a promise on himself when he was exiled out of paradise to God. He said, I promise you that I will deceive all of them. So the Prophet says, every human being is born, comes crying, unless he's dead, comes crying. That is because the devil is waiting for there to declare war on him. That is war. Only 2 people are accepted from this. Only 2 individuals who the shaitan, when came to them, or when they were born, the devil did not get chance to do that. You might think Muhammad. No. You might think Abraham. No, we believe in Abraham too. The 2 people that were accepted, Jesus and his mother, Mary. Those are the 2 people that were protected from the devil throughout their whole life. Throughout their whole life. So the point is, against the devil and against the whispering of the devil, all that is also part of it. That is also jihad. What I'm trying to explain to you is jihad really doesn't only mean war. So far I gave you 2 examples, and I hope that is enough for that aspect, that when you see the word jihad, does not necessarily mean war and fighting and killing. Now let's talk about the war aspect to the word jihad, or the fighting war, the fighting aspect of the word jihad. As I started saying, one of the rights, if you still remember, that every human being has the right to exist. And every human being has the right to defend himself. So if we understand and we agree on those 2 facts, then it becomes very clear that one of the main purposes of jihad, the combative aspect, is to defend oneself. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, talks about fighting the enemies, He says, and fight those who fight you. But what He also adds, it's not the end of the verse, what He also adds, because some people might take this as a permission to do whatever. He says, and do not transgress. Yani do not go beyond the limit. Do not oppress, because God does not love those who are transgressors. And you find verses in the Quran says, and kill them wherever you find them. And that is one of the verses that the people who want to give the bad image about Islam try to use. Now I'm standing here to mention them to you, because I'm confident to convince you and to show you the proofs. Doesn't really need convincing or persuasion, it's clear. Actually this verse, kill them wherever you find them, comes after that. Fight those who fight you and don't transgress. And when it goes, if they're gonna come and just quote, kill them wherever you find them, without mentioning the verse before, because they don't, because again they're subjective and they have their own agenda, just take it as it is. Kill them wherever you find them. طيب, them means what? People? Chicken? Birds? I'm serious. Kill them wherever. What does it mean? So you take that verse before and you will understand that it's talking about this aspect. And who are the people it's talking about? Christians? Jews? No, it's not. It's actually talking about a specific group of people who are called pagans, who fought the messenger and chased him out of his home, who fought those who followed the religion of Islam and chased them out of their homes and tortured them and killed some of them and confiscated their wealth. Kill them wherever, because they are in a war state against you. If we go back to the rule that says everyone has the right to defend themselves, and we already agree, I assume, then we understand why we can kill them. Now, this is an order, but that doesn't mean it's the default, because it wasn't. You see, when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was chased out of Mecca, his home is Mecca. Today is called Saudi Arabia. It's in Saudi Arabia today. Mecca is where he started his message. When he was chased out because of what he believed in, after they tried to kill him, after they accused him of everything you can imagine, and the people who believed in him were also chased out, he comes back victorious. He comes back to Mecca victorious, where they're still his enemy, and they already declared war on him. So they tortured him, they killed his companions, they took their money, and they kicked them out. When he comes back, what did he do? He had all the power to slaughter all of them. So when they asked him, what you gonna do to us? Those are people who declared war on him. And if you study the biography of the Prophet and Islam, you will find that those people traveled thousands, hundreds of miles to fight him where he moved. Not only they kicked him out and they said it's over, they knew that his religion will be accepted. It's a religion that came to tell people, that the simplest human rights, it came to tell them that a woman has the right to choose her husband. Where in Arabia, pre-Islamic era, the woman, when she would get married, of course she will have no choice, but if her husband dies, she is part of his inheritance, and automatically she goes to the one who gonna inherit him, to his heirs. That's what the life and the reality of pre-Islamic era in Arabia. The tribes would kill each other for a line of poetry, for a goat, for a camel. They'll declare war on each other. Women or girls, newborn females, would be buried alive because it was shameful for an Arab to have a girl. So he will bury her alive. Islam came to destroy all these ideas and to eliminate them. Slavery is another issue. So it's very important to understand this background. So when Allah says, tell His messenger and the companions of His messenger and the believers at that time, fight them and kill them wherever they are, it's talking about their enemies. And no one of us can disagree that if someone trying to kill me, I will try to kill him. Because the Quran really does not counsel the idea of turning the other cheek. You can find that in, I have one, but I'll take it if it's cold. The Quran, we already said the Quran is the holy book, does not counsel the idea of turning the other cheek. However, it supports the idea of forgiveness, the idea of returning good for evil, with the condition when the circumstances warrant. What does that mean? When it's useful. And if someone gonna come, let's even take it figurative or take it exactly the way it came. Turn the other cheek. Like someone who gonna come every morning and slap you in the face. You're gonna turn the cheek. Okay, after a day, 2, 3 months, you're gonna keep doing that? And I guarantee as a dentist you're gonna have jaw problem after a month or so. But the issue is, Islam does not counsel this idea just like that. Islam says forgive him if he slaps you once, and if he slaps you again, and maybe you even give him a gift. That is if you see potential of him changing. If you can make him a better person. But when you know there is no potential, when you see that this guy been doing this for years and years and years and he doesn't care, then you have to put your foot down. So that is what Islam calls for. Islam says when there is oppression, we have to treat the problem. You see, one of the issues in any religion, that is adultery. Adultery and fornication is not allowed in Islam as well as in any other religion. But today in a society that has deviated from the godly laws and from using even their mind, because a human being has become so arrogant, thinking that he has the power and he can rule over God. Then I want to ask the designer and the engineer who designed the Titanic when he said even God can't sink it. Where is the Titanic today? So the whole thing is, when it comes to adultery, even before the Super Bowl, there was an argument in the media because there is a website wanted to air an ad during the Super Bowl. You know what the ad for? You know who watched the Super Bowl? You all know who watched the Super Bowl. I don't, but you know who do. But a lot of kids. You know what the ad for? It's a website that has 1.4 at that, maybe 2 months ago or more. I don't even remember when the Super Bowl is. But an ad, it's a website with 1.4 million people. You know what it is for? For adultery. Someone who just wants a night away from his house. That is what the website. And one of their ads, as the CNN describes on their website, one of the ads they tried to air during the Super Bowl is a man and a woman kissing and with intimacy, and excuse my language, but that is the ad. And then at the end they're in bed, and at the end they write, they are married. And then the screen will flash, but not to each other. That is the ad. That is the world we live in. And if we don't catch ourselves, we will. On the Associated Press, 2 kids or 5 kids in a school between the ages of 9 and 11 in New Orleans. Between 9 and 11, the teacher doesn't show up. One of the kids stand at the door to watch out when someone comes. The other 4, 2 girls and 2 boys between age of 9 and 11, starting having intercourse in the class. That is the society when they call for freedom. So when it comes to adultery in Islam, God does not say do not commit adultery. God says do not come close. There's a big difference. What that means is, do not, anything that might lead you to adultery, it's forbidden. There are things that are permissible. If you do them the right fashion, they will not lead to adultery. The same things, someone with different twisted mentality will lead him, so it becomes forbidden for this person, not for them. So anything that will lead to adultery becomes forbidden. Why I'm mentioning this? Because Islam is a religion of prevention. Islam has solution for problems, but mainly focused on prevention. Your mission in life, as we believe, is to serve God. Now, serving God doesn't mean you stay in the mosque or in the church. Serving God does not mean 24/7 you're reading the holy book. Serving God does not mean you don't get married, but on the side you can have girlfriends and then marry them and change your faith, or molestation. Islam doesn't say that. Serving God is following His commands. His commands in the way you live. His commands, Islam is a religion, a way of life. Islam talks, Islam in the Quran and the tradition of the Prophet. Social issues, parental issues, financial system, complete financial system Islam has. Even now in Europe, they are considering establishing or applying the Islamic law, financial law in their banks. The havoc in the world financially for one reason: usury, also known as interest. They call it interest. But is it interest for whom? For the rich people, for the lenders. Have you ever borrowed money and they gave you interest? You didn't take interest if you borrow. You usually take, the people who take interest are the rich ones. So it's interest for specific people. That's why we don't call it interest in Islam. We call it exactly what the Bible calls it and what the Torah calls it: usury. They're taking advantage of you. So Islam has a whole system. So the main thing, the wealth of America, as finance guy in University of Oklahoma, he said in 2020 or something, the wealth of the United States will be in the hands of 10 families. Which I think 220 is too far. I think it is already. So the idea is, Islam is a way, it talks about this: social, financial, economical, religious, political, every aspect of life you will find in the Holy Book or in the tradition of the Prophet. So Islam is not a passive religion, like turn the other cheek. Islam solves problems. So supposedly when Islam is practiced, when you find people or a whole continent full of disease and full of pain and full of starvation and famine, Islam doesn't say send them food only. Islam says who's causing the problem. We will feed them, we will take care of them, but at the same time, who's causing the problem so we can treat it. But today, the way it's being resolved, literally, and you can look into this, the food in one hand and the Bible in the other hand. That is how it's being solved in Africa. All those missionary groups that you see adding and all that, you donate money for, it's not their purpose to feed. In one hand they're giving the Bible, and in one hand they're giving the food. Take the Bible, we give you the food. And we witness that. That is not the way you spread your religion, on empty stomachs. Islam doesn't talk about that. You see, one of the facts I want you to understand, Islam is a religion of heart. What does that mean? What does that mean? What that means, if your heart is not present when you do the action, it's not acceptable. You can pray 24/7. If your heart is not present, your action will not be accepted. That's why you find in Islam, in the Quran, it says the hypocrites are in the lowest level of the hellfire. The hypocrites. Now those hypocrites are considered Muslims. In life, they're considered Muslims. So they're even lower than what we believe, non-believer, a Christian or a Jew or a Hindu or whatever, who's not Muslim. So the hypocrites who say they're Muslims are lower than them. Why? Because they did not believe in their hearts. So the point is, Islam is a religion. You have to have feeling in your heart when you are worshiping God, when you are declaring your testimony to worship Him. So if I come and force you, as they claim that Islam spread by the sword, which is the other term, if Islam spread by the sword, and Islam says you have to have the intention for your actions to be accepted, and that intention has to be sincerity for God. So how I can force anyone to be Muslim? I can't. Maybe they can show me in front of me they're Muslims, but if their hearts cursing me and cursing my religion, what is the point? It doesn't mean anything. Even in Islam, in the Quran, it says, let there be no compulsion in religion. Let there be no compulsion in religion. Yani, arguably I can say, and take it from me, arguably I can say that this is the first mandate of religious tolerance in human history. Again, the first religious mandate of religious rights in human history. There is no other religion called for that prior to Islam. Prior to Islam, there is no such thing. Even you find the Christians, they mentioned the Crusades came later, but even when Muslims came to Egypt, for example, okay, when Muslims, when Muslims came to Egypt, Egypt was occupied by the Catholic, the Romans, the Catholic Christians. You know who was the indigenous inhabitants of Egypt? Roman Orthodox Christians. Today they're called Coptics. They were oppressed. When Islam came and chased the Catholic out, the oppressors, the transgressors, because Islam, as I said, is not a passive religion. When there are people who are tortured and abused and transgressed, Muslim feels obligation to help them, even if it takes force. So Islam came to free the Christians Orthodox from the Christian Catholics. You know what happened when the Muslims found that money that was taken by coercion and by force from the Orthodox by the Catholic? When the Muslim leader sent to the Khalifa, Umar, he told him, what should we do with this money? This money was taken by force. So it's not permissible money to use. It belongs to other people. You have no right. He tells him, declare or announce in the towns, whoever had money taken from him by force, come and get it back. That is what Islam brought. So when they say Islam spread by the sword, there is not even one Muslim soldier put or landed a foot in the biggest and the largest Muslim country in the world, Indonesia. Or that part of the world. Merchants who went to make business, when people saw their honesty, they became Muslim. Study and search and see if there is one army landed foot in Indonesia. If you look at the world today, they talk about Islam is a terrorist religion. Let's look at the last century. Let's say Islam is, and let's say Islam declared war on everyone. Let's say in just last 100 years, when that modern, civilized, human rights world took over. Because the last 100 years was the fall of the Ottoman Empire, the biggest empire in the history of mankind. The last 100 years since that fall, wars after wars after wars after wars. Yani at least 70 wars. The least estimate of the number of people killed in World War I, 16 million. 16 million. They're stigmatizing a whole religion because of September 11. We'll talk about September 11. 3,000 people died. Like turning the other cheek to the one who slapped you. We don't tell you turn the other cheek. Like why you go and you bomb and you occupy a land that had nothing to do with September 11, and that is Iraq. Destroyed a whole country to free its people. طيب ما, if you're gonna think holy war is jihad, you're declaring jihad on Iraq. You want to free the people, right? But what is the result? The collapse of the whole world system. Because it's unjust war. It's unfair. So World War I, where the Muslims had nothing to do with it, it's the West killing each other. The civilized modern world. 16 million killed, 20 million wounded, and a lot of civilians. World War II, they didn't learn from their lesson. 60 million. 60 million people were killed in World War II. So in the last 100 years, the least estimate, 160 million people were killed in those wars. But let's look a little closer. Let's focus. Magnifier glass. Muslim world. Let's see how many they declared on the West. That they say Islam is a religion of violence and they want to kill everyone. From the West, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Sudan. Talking just about the Arab world, the Arab region. And most Muslims are not Arabs. Jordan, Palestine, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq. They were all occupied by the West. Armies invaded those people's sovereign countries. Why the West tends to forget quick? This happened in the last 60 years. They left these countries in the last 50, 60 years. Why they don't talk about that? They still, and if you're going to talk about the Crusade, they said those people were too far ago, 1,000 years ago. We have nothing to do. 40 years ago. And you still have the same mentality. And you all know when Bush declared war on Afghanistan, he said, the Crusaders are back. He said that. And you can search. That's what the West did to the Muslim world. To the Arabs at least. Like Britain, Great Britain, that reached all the way to India, beyond, and France come to the Arabs. They tell them, we want you to help us against the Ottoman Empire. Now this history is not even taught in the Arab world. And we will give you freedom, independence from the Ottoman. Because the people who were in charge of the Muslim world then were not Islamically inclined. They thought, I can have my own country, my own throne. They agreed. The Arabs were fighting the Ottomans, which is Muslims with Muslims, plotted by the West, Britain and France. In the background, Britain and France was dividing the Arab world, what France gonna take and what Britain gonna take. That's why you find Iraq was taken by the British, Jordan taken by the British, Syria and Lebanon by the French, Egypt by the British, Libya by Italians, Morocco by the French, and Tunisia. That's why you find Algeria by itself was occupied by France for more than 100 years. You think they came to bring civilization? You think they brought science? Whereas Muslims, when they went to a land to teach the people the religion, to spread the religion of Islam, to teach people, not force, here's our religion. They brought civilization. And Spain is a great deal and great evidence. A Jewish professor in Hebrew University, he says there was never better symbiosis between Muslims and Jews than the one existed in Islamic Spain. Jews, and I challenge, and I'm very confident of this, the following statements. And it's not only my statement, it's a statement of impartial, fair, just writers from the West, non-Muslims. The Jews never had better life and better or more stable life than the one they had under Islamic ruling thing. Jewish poets, Jewish scientists, Jewish politicians, they were in the government. The Ottoman Empire had Jews in the government. The Muslim Empire supported. You remember when I told you Muhammad, when he came to Mecca, ﷺ, back, and they asked him, what you going to do to us? After they did whatever they did, he said, you're free. I forgive you. Remember I said, Islam doesn't say turn the other cheek, but because he knows he has power now, so they cannot retaliate. That's why it was a reason, enough reason for all of them to embrace Islam. The Muslims do the same thing, following their Prophet. On the other hand, and Muslims condemn what Nazi Germany did to the Jews. And the Jews always talking about it. However, they were the first people, the very first people, to go to Palestine by the British to establish a land and chase the people out. You see, if you look at the history of Israel, such thing did not exist before 1947-48. Try to find an atlas that was printed before. You won't find something called Israel. So this existed. God sent a piece of land on earth, and here you are the chosen and taken. Yeah, how much time I have? 10 minutes. That's it. All right. So the point is, they go back to the Palestinians, chase them out of their homes, destroy them, and you all can read the news. They did not break the cycle. Even though they should be the first ones to who have experienced Hitler and his Nazism, to go and try to not inflict it on other people. Islam doesn't say that. Islam says, whoever attack you, you attack them the same, and do not transgress. We believe that our religion is the religion of the truth. We as Muslims, we're blamed for it. We're blamed for it, but when there's 100+ channels on satellite and cable that they cannot stop attacking our religion and saying that you cannot get to heaven without the salvation of Jesus Christ, it's faith. Yeah, and when a Muslim dressed like me, grow beard, he's terrorist. Even though they depict Jesus to look like me. Don't you think I look like Jesus in their depiction? I'm serious.
He's Arab anyway.
I'm from the same country, Palestine. Okay? But I'm terrorist. But when a Jewish rabbi does the same thing, dressed with his beard and his clothes, or garments, or Christian priest, these are religious people. When a Muslim woman covers her head, she's oppressed. That is what the media, she's oppressed. Yeah, and you just type in Google, Muslim women. See how many articles about oppression. But when a nun covers her head and her body is dedicated, that is the reality. We need to be careful. As I said, back to the idea of terminology, and they're changing everything. That's part of it. And people don't, in America, there is no such thing as, now the idea is family planning. Everywhere family planning, you read pamphlets, family planning. The idea is abortion. A lot of it has to do with abortion. When I drive to one of my offices and a big billboard, pregnant, don't worry about it. We'll take care of you. Islam doesn't call for that. Islam fights that. Who's going to support her? Yeah, the people who put the ad, you think they put money from their pockets for this ad? They are people who are using the society money, tax dollars. When you have people coming to your office and bringing her 5 kids for treatment, and each kid has different last name and this woman was never married, who you think support her? You. You know, you don't realize that. You know why? Because you're still a student. Tomorrow when you work, you graduate, God's willing, and you start making money, and you calculate how much your paycheck gonna be, $2,500. Then you get the check and it's $1,500. You will be so upset. You know where the other 1,000 went? To feed those 5 kids. Taxes. I'm not being judgmental, being realistic. Any billboards now, one of my offices in Homestead, there's a billboard when you start entering Homestead. You know what it says? It's calling for a test. Now it's a DNA test. You can buy for $40. My neighbor is a pharmacist and I asked him, $40. You know for what? To know if the kid that you've been raising is your child. Paternity test. You don't have to go to all these shows, Montel and all that. You can have it at home. That is a society. You don't think this society will collapse? We don't want it. We're Americans. We live in this country. We benefited a lot, and we also give benefits. And it hurts us to see that. But they don't accept from us. Because in the back of their minds, you are the terrorist. But we're not. We actually been abused in the last 100 years by that. So yeah, I want you just to do one research. I don't promote Google. Maybe you can go Yahoo or whatever. Or the Microsoft one. Which one? Bing. Put the Spanish Inquisition. Spanish Inquisition. And read. I think you click on the first link. I think it's Wikipedia. Read what the Christians, Catholics, by the leadership of Ferdinand II, Farango, and Queen Elizabeth I, by the order of the Pope, what they've done to the Muslims, to the Christians who are not Catholic, and to the Jews. And then you tell me, who's terrorist? Spanish Inquisition. So in conclusion, just to make it simple, I talk too much, is Islam does not call for violence. However, sometimes violence is a solution. No one should deny it. Don't you? And if you have kids, you spank them sometimes, don't you? I do. Is that child abuse? That doesn't mean I'm gonna hurt them, but to deliver a message. But it's bigger than that. When you are being faced by violence, you cannot just stay turn the other cheek. You will be killed. And no one wants that. We all want to live. No one has the right to take your property from you and you stay quiet. So it's basic human rights to defend themselves, and really that is the main idea of jihad, the combative aspect in Islam. And I already told you that intention and hearts is one of 2 conditions for your actions to be accepted, for your Islam to be accepted. So how can you claim that we coerce people? Greece, and now it's going into bankruptcy. Greece was, the Muslims were leading or ruling Greece for hundreds of years. Cyprus as well. Bulgaria, Romania. The Muslims, the Ottoman Empire had, the Serbs, the Serbs who committed genocides and killed thousands of Muslims, Kosovan or Bosnians. They were under the ruling of the Ottoman Empire, where they practiced their religions freely, and they were actually in the Ottoman government. They did not change to Islam. Greece, mainly Christians. They did not change their religions. If Islam forced them, why they're not Muslim today? Cyprus, all these countries, Romania, Bulgaria, Serbia, all this Eastern Europe. Why? Why the Muslims in Chechnya, who try to practice their religion, they're being fought by the Christian Russians? Why the Muslims in Kashmir being fought by the Hindu Indians in Philippines as well, in Iraq and Afghanistan. Why? Muslims, if you look today in the map of the world, Muslims are not invading any country. They say jihad and terrorist, okay? Yani September 11, let's make it exceptional. But first, most scholars of Islam condemns that. And second, is we don't agree with the act. And Islam does not say to do that. So why are you going to judge the religion by 19 people when there are 1.4 billion people? So don't get stuck with one scenario or one case and judge. Do I say Christianity is a terrorist religion because of the Crusades? No. Do I say Catholicism and Hinduism is terrorist and violent religions because of World War I and Korea and Vietnam and the Hindus? I don't do that. Because remember what God said? He said, you attack those who attack you, but you don't transgress. So that is the bottom line of the idea of al-jihad in Islam. As I said, 13 definitions. One of them is the combative aspect, and the main purpose behind it is to defend and to help the oppressed. To defend the enemies against you and to help the oppressed, and to stand in front of those who oppressing other people. And if you come to me and said, why Muslims went into Egypt? We say they were Catholics who were oppressed, or Orthodox who were oppressed, and they needed help. So the bottom line, or in summary, the non-Muslims in Islam are divided into 4 categories. And remember, this will summarize everything when it talks about jihad, the combative aspect. One is what's called dhimmi. Dhimmi is a non-Muslim who lives amongst Muslims majority. Yani minority of non-Muslims living amongst the majority of Muslims. Called dhimmi. This person. This is a type. The second type is musta'man. Or mu'ahid. Mu'ahid meaning someone who has a treaty, non-Muslims who has a treaty with Muslims. There's a treaty between them, peace treaty, whatever it is. There's agreement. The third type is musta'man. Someone who's given the protection by Muslims. Today you say, what does that mean? I say when someone is giving visa to go to Saudi Arabia, issuing such visa for him is telling him, you come to our land and you should be protected. That's what musta'man means. Those 3 categories, by no means a Muslim has the right to hurt. Listen to what the Messenger, peace be upon him, said. He said, من أمن رجلا ثم قتله فعليه لعنة الله والملائكة والناس أجمعين لا يقبل منه يوم القيامة صرفا ولا عدلا. He says, whoever gives protection to a non-Muslim, whoever gives protection to a non-Muslim, then he kills him. And he betrays this protection. He breaks it. Then the Prophet said, then he deserves the curse of God, and the curse of the angels, and the curse of all mankind. And on the Day of Judgment, nothing will be accepted from him. Sarfan aw adlan, meaning nafila or fard. That's what the Messenger telling the Muslims when it comes to those kind of people, those 3 categories. The Prophet says, whoever kills someone he gave protection, then I'm free from him, meaning he has nothing to do with me, even if the person he killed is disbeliever, and is not Muslim. Because once you give him your word, Muslim should respect. Now what's the 4th type? That you can fight, and you should fight. What we call muharib, the one who declares war on you. That one, as we already established, that you have the absolute right by any law in the world to fight back. And anyone says otherwise, then we tell him good luck, because he's going to just walk all over you. But I know for a fact no one will say that. No one will come to try to hurt you or hurt your family. Or one of us today, his kid comes from outside playing, comes in crying. What happened? Oh, the neighbor's kid hit me. You leave the house and you like want to explode. You go to your neighbor and you hurt, and maybe he just like pushed him or something. That is the reality. So when someone comes to hurt you, attack you, take your wealth, take your properties, then the Prophet said, if you die protecting your family, you die protecting your wealth, then you're a martyr. You're a martyr. Because it's the idea of al-jihad again. So that is really the idea of al-jihad, and as I said, you are very intelligent people and very educated, and FIU is a great school. I've been here. There are negatives in everything, you know. But it was a great experience. I graduated in 2001 from here, and it was an amazing experience. There really one thing I regret, and wherever I give a speech in a school, in a university, I feel obligated to advise, especially the Muslims. And since here we're mixed, the Muslims and friends, studying is not the whole thing. You're going to be here 4 years, or maybe some brother told me that he lost count of the years he's been here. You can be dedicated, you can do very well, you can get great grades, but don't make your life the book. I mean the academic books. Because most probably what you learn in school, 90% of it you'll never use in your real life. And I'm saying it because I know, okay? Because I've been there and I'm there, you know? Learn something else. Add to your knowledge. Explore. Read. Even if you dedicate half an hour a day instead of sitting on the blue tables outside GC. They're still there? They're still there? Yeah, there were blue tables there. We used to spend a lot of time sitting there chatting. But even if you dedicate half an hour of your day, and if you're full-time and you spend a lot of time, just to learn something else. And to the non-Muslims, learn about Muslims. You did not come here tonight unless you were interested in the first place. Not interested to become Muslim, but you're interested to know. And knowledge is very powerful. So I advise you, and I remind myself as well, that take advantage of that, and when you finish, you're going to be learning a lot. Just about myself, I did not do that in FIU. I didn't. Because honestly, I didn't have someone who gave me this advice. But when I moved to Philadelphia and went to University of Pennsylvania, I realized that, part of it is I had to live by myself. So by the will of God and by the blessings of God, I was able simultaneously to do the dental degree along with the Islamic law degree. And it's full time. So you take advantage of time, and time is plenty. But as our messenger said, two bounties that a lot of people or take for granted, they're actually fooled by. One is the bounty of health, and one is the bounty of time. A lot of us have health and have time. Because if you don't have health, you can have all the time, but you don't feel doing anything. And if you have health and you don't have time, you can't do anything. So a lot of us have that bounty. When you're still students, you got a lot of time. Yeah, anyway, I remember when I was in high school, I couldn't wait to get to college. I said, man, I don't need to ask someone to go to the bathroom. You know? I don't have to go to class every day. So I go to college and I enjoy it. Then I can't wait to get out, work, make money, because I'm tired of taking exams. And then you go to the real world, you know what you wish? If you're back in high school. So I hope you benefited from me and you learned something tonight. And if you have any questions, I'm willing to hear them. I don't know about answering them, but...
Is it possible that everybody doesn't understand the message of Islam? Even Muslims don't understand the message of... There's no unified understanding of the message of Islam?
Okay. You all heard the question? Is it possible that even Muslims do not understand the message of Islam? I say the first verse, the Quran is about 600 pages, okay, and thousands of verses. the very first verse that was revealed to our messenger, the very first word is Iqra, which means read. And one of our biggest problems today is we don't read. We don't read. Yeah, and either one of us read the summary of the summary of the summary for the test, and he still complains. Even maybe you will have old tests, right, circulating around, and I love those. You're still tired to read. Okay? So reading and seeking knowledge is the key. A lot of Muslims, unfortunately, do not know much about their religion. Just like every other religion. Even though they identify themselves by Muslims, they pray, they do that, yet they don't know much. And this is an obligation on every Muslim to learn. Yani the Prophet said that it's obligatory on every, even the narration is questionable, but the obligation of every Muslim to learn his religion. So when you are encountered and faced by people, because there are people who are going to attack you with your religion, so you need to be prepared at least to defend. But before all that, you can ignore them and walk away, but before all that, you learn for yourself to be able to save yourself from this world and its tribulations.
Well, a follow-up. Why I ask that question is because even what you are saying, I think if we are 500 in here, we have 500 different understandings of what you are just saying. I mean, because there are different...
The perceptions?
Yeah, so even if we read the same text, the exact text, they are likely to be
well,
different.
they are things that open for interpretation, and there are things, white and black, they're clear, so maybe we can agree at least on the white and black. Huh?
So in that sense, because I'm trying to really, when you talk about the issue of violence, or whether you talk about response to, there are some things really I still find it difficult to understand. I am as religious as I am educated, and also I come from both a country that has both half and half of both religion, Christianity and...
You're Nigerian?
Exactly. Yeah, so, I mean, my thing is that is it possible that some of the violence you see, I'm not even talking about when you attack the West, because when you frame a discussion between Islam and West, then it's no longer religion, it's a clash of civilization. But is it possible that when even Muslims attack Muslims, because I say this when I hear it, whether it's in Pakistan or whether it's in Iraq, whether it's in the marketplace, that kind of innocent people die for one reason or the other. If you say you are defending the people you want to protect by killing them, I find it difficult to understand that.
Of course. And that is when that is part of the struggle against yourselves and your desires. Because usually when you justify it for yourself under the name of religion to kill innocent people, you're following your desires. The religion does not tell you that. So you need to declare jihad on yourself before even you think about doing anything else. And that is the main idea. Thank you. Even he mentioned Nigeria. You're Nigerian, right? A lot of now in Nigeria, Muslims, whole tribes being slaughtered. Genocide being committed against Muslim Nigerians by the Christians. Do we blame Christianity? Did you hear any Muslim coming out to say Christians are terrorists? No. Do you see the media saying that? No, they won't say that. But we Muslims, out of justice, Allah says in the Quran, He said, لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم ولم يظاهروا عليكم أن تبروهم وتقسطوا إليهم. Allah does not forbid you from those who did not fight you because of your religion, did not chase you out of your home, and did not fight you. Allah says He does not forbid you from being just and fair and nice and kind to them. Then the very next verse, Allah says, but Allah forbid you from those who fight you, who fought you and chased you out of their home, and they took allies against you. You think Allah will say He forbid you to be just to them? No. He said He forbids you from taking them friends and allies. Why? Because they harmed you. So it doesn't make sense to take them allies. But yet you still be just. You still be just as a Muslim. Because a Muslim is not a religion of revenge. Islam, the Muslims, if he's being treated unjustly, he is not permitted to treat back unjustly. If he's being treasoned or traded or betrayed, he's not allowed to betray back. Huh? Because Muslim lives in accordance to a system of morality, a system of laws, and a system of etiquette. And this system says, if you are being treated unjustly, you are not justified to act unjustly, because Allah does not love injustice. And that is what the message we try to spread. Huh? When I had a woman in my chair and she needed a tooth out, and I looked at her belly. When you give anesthesia, you have to give the right anesthesia if the woman is pregnant. So I asked, are you pregnant? Which is a question on the chart. She got offended. I mean, usually, no, I'm not. Okay, that's it. She was so skinny, and it's not like I thought something else. But when I went to get my anesthesia and came back, she said, yes, I am. Now, who's sitting in the room? Her 6-year-old daughter. That's all I needed to know. Yes, I'm pregnant, so I know what to give you. So she said, yeah, I found out that my husband was cheating on me, and I decided to cheat on him, so I got pregnant. But I'm going tomorrow for abortion. And I'm not exaggerating. This happened in my office in front of a 6-year-old. Okay? Islam doesn't think that way. Which the idea of, if I'm being treated unfairly, I'm going to treat you unfairly. No. No. At every level, a husband with his wife, a wife with her husband, a father with son with his father, a human being with a human being, a fellow human being, with your neighbor. That is the system that Islam comes to call for. Justice. So the Prophet of Islam broke the cycle of revenge. You hurt me, I'm going to get you. Yani what goes around comes around. He broke that cycle. When he was chased out of Mecca, he comes back, he tells them, you're forgiven. But the other people do not do that. And this is Islam. I'm not telling you something I'm not making up stuff. This is our religion, and we are proud of it, and we're going to live according to it, and we will fight for it. Fight those who fight us back. And we have the right to do that. All right? Any other questions? Wow.
Well, first, thank you for
Thank you.
your lecture.
Thank you for having me.
I just have a question on the question of empires, because I agree with you when you're talking about, the U.S. now occupying different countries, either, U.S. empire, and, and then you mentioned about Spain, etc. But at the same time, it's so great of the Ottoman Empire. So, is it okay then so are you okay with imperialism if it's Muslim-led and...
No. The idea is we're going to bring justice. And I gave the example of Egypt. I said that the Catholics were oppressed. Now, does that mean the Ottoman Empire ruled according to Islam? Did the Ottoman Empire commit genocides or killed people? Yes, they did. That's when they deviated. When they went and started following their desires. When the rulers started getting drunk and adultery and fornication. So we're not saying they ruled according to Islam their whole period, but they were to an extent. So we say Islam obligated to spread justice everywhere. That's what we feel. We do not coerce people, but when we see people being abused and being tortured, then we feel obligated by God's law to establish justice in earth and to bring them peace. We feel that obligation. And today they talk about the Iraqi people, for example, being abused. So let's go free them. Magician people in Russia being abused too. Why you don't go there? Because there are no benefits. Because it's not about freeing people. It's about personal. But Muslims don't have power today. Muslims are weak. So they cannot say, okay, we're going to go help them. We are weak. Today, it's due to ourselves and due to external reasons as well. But we are weak to try to spread justice. Muslims is not someone, as I said, passive. If it's not in my neighborhood, I won't even be concerned. No, it doesn't work like that. Actually, we believe that one of the main reasons that destroyed the reason for other civilizations to be destroyed, because when they used to see the evil, they would not try to forbid it or change it. Muslims do not do that. Muslims, when they see injustice, they feel obligated to establish the rulings of God in that land. And that's why you look in the Islamic history, you see people were welcoming the Muslims to come to their lands. Even the Coptics, the Muslims left 500 people when they came to Egypt. After they chased the Roman Catholic out, 500 Muslims were left. There were 15 million Coptics. Okay? Today, how many Muslims and how many Coptics? You want to tell me all those Muslims came out from 500 people and they started reproducing like rabbits? No. A lot of Coptics and a lot of Christians became Muslim when they saw the justice of Islam. So we feel obligated to spread justice, and when people try to stand in front of us from spreading justice, when we see that it is, then they need to be found. So that is the idea. But do we go to people's sovereign countries that they're not doing anything, and we say, okay, we're going to fight you, so you better leave the country, we're going to take over? We don't do that. Muslims never did that. Actually, when it happened one time, okay, it did happen one time, and that is in Samarkand, which is today the area of Tajikistan and all that area in old Russian states. Muslims invaded a country without the permission, without that reason. The people of that land sent the message to the Muslim ruler, the head of the state, Umar bin Abdul Aziz. That is Samarkand. They tell him, your army invaded us illegitimately. Now, when an army takes over, you think they want to pull out? It's easy. Once we take over, we're not leaving. So he sends a message to the head of that army, telling him, you went in without the permission of God. You're not justified to take over their land. Pull out. They pulled out. He pulled out his army. The people of Samarkand, when they saw that, they ran after them, embracing the religion of Islam. Samarkand today is Islam. Muslims, majority are Muslims. Were they forced? No, they weren't. Samarkand, that's where the area where Imam Bukhari from. All right? So that is, but we feel obligated to spread justice in the world. All right?
Are you not forgetting Kuwait and Syria? I mean, those are historical facts.
About
Iraq invaded Kuwait. It was a sovereign country.
Well, again,
the same thing with Syria
again, we're saying Islam. One of the facts that I said we need to establish from the beginning, we cannot look at individual acts and say this is Islam. When Kuwait was invaded by Saddam Hussein is Ba'athi. Ba'athi people, Ba'athi party, do not even believe in a religion. Huh? Yeah, he used to pray, I think, just to gain the sympathy. But that is the foundation of Ba'athi. It's really developed through communism and all that idea. But he's Ba'athi, so we do not say he invaded Kuwait. He invaded Kuwait not saying I'm invading because I'm Muslim and I want to spread Islam. Okay? Or the Kuwaiti people are treated unjustly, I want to save them. He invaded because the oil. When they were in war for 10 years with Iraq, he claimed that Kuwait was stealing some of his oil. So he wanted the compensation back. That's why he invaded. Can I say that is haram, that is, he acted that according to Islam? No, I can't say that, and I will never say that. All right? So I cannot claim that religion or Islam has to do with what Saddam. You cannot, because this is one of the things I established from the beginning. I said, don't judge the religion by individuals. All right? Anything else?
What does Islam or the Quran say about abortion exactly?
Well,
in a nutshell.
okay, we believe as Muslims when it comes to abortion, abortion is killing a soul. Okay? Our Prophet teaches us that the soul is blown in the fetus after 4 months. Okay? After 4 months, the soul is blown in. God sends an angel to blow the soul in this. So from the 4 months on, the consensus of the scholars of Islam, it's forbidden to do abortion. But does not mean 4 months before or less it's allowed. No. It's still forbidden except in certain circumstances. One of those circumstances, when by confident, trustworthy doctors, experienced doctors, they say, for example, the baby will be dead when he is born, or he will be extremely retarded that he might not survive 2 or 3 months after his birth. Some of the scholars said it's permissible if it's done before the 4 months. So you see, there is specific circumstance. Some, or the majority, say no. You do not. They're not allowed to do abortion because first, God can change whatever He wants. Second, it's part of a test and part of jihad that a person has to live with, and that is his fate, his destiny. So if God gives him a retarded or dysfunctional kid, then he has to accept the will of God and the fate and his destiny and what Allah had decreed for him, and do the best out, or make the best out of it. So really the majority say it's not allowed. Another scenario that they say is the issue of rape. If a woman gets raped and gets pregnant, and again after 4 months, the consensus is not before 4 months, that is where but the bottom line is abortion is killing an innocent soul. Okay, so at majority of times and most of the times it's not permissible, except in some of those circumstances that it might be better to do that. Yani when they tell you your kid is dead, well, you have to do abortion. When they tell you the fetus is dead, there is no reason to keep him. So is that abortion, or are you going to call it something else? So some of those circumstances, very extreme circumstance.
Why especially before 4 months?
Because the messenger, peace be upon him, said that after 4 months is when the soul is blown into so that child is considered a full human being with a soul, because the idea of abortion is we do not kill a soul. So if he doesn't have a soul, that's where the really differences came in those specific issues.
Just keeping up this talk about abortion, well, since it's frowned upon, what is the Islamic community like in Philadelphia? You said you live in Philadelphia.
No, I'm here. I study in Philadelphia.
Okay, so you live here.
Yeah.
What is the Islamic community doing to join in solidarity with people of color in Miami, with, of lower income areas, because there's a lot of cuts, especially in Miami-Dade County, social programs, money, 50% of children that are born today in the United States are homeless in the richest country in the world. So what is the Islamic, if Islam is against, abortion, then there must be something to do, about, there must be some way to change the economic structure, change capitalism, because it's it's in effect bringing people into, kids into poverty,
Of course.
poverty. So,
Well,
is the Islamic community working together with other organizations?
Of course. Yes, we have many organizations that work with the society at large. So we're not really only closed-minded into our mosques and we close the doors and we have nothing to do. We are part of the community, and I think I said it. I said we're Americans. Yeah, I have citizenship. They gave it to me. You wonder, yani. We do to the best of our ability. But at the same time, just the way that we are perceived, the way that the media works, and the way we are limited. Okay, we're limited for resources, and we're limited. But there are many Muslim organizations, and you can just look whatever idea you think about, you will find the Muslim organizations. There is amana, there is fairs that are developed, but one of our main things is produce a generation, Muslim generation, who can infiltrate and go outside to teach the people our mind and our belief. We believe that we have solutions for those problems. The problem of abortion. People usually have abortion because they don't want the child, because it's illegitimate child, because of premarital sexual relationship. Islam doesn't provide, excuse my language, condoms. Islam doesn't say, we'll give you condoms, as you can see in some of the fairs here in FIU. I remember that. And I remember one time I come to a table and they had a little game. What the little game? A ball, and you have to get in the hoop. And you get a gift. So I didn't even know what was the table for, so I went and I got in. So they gave me a condom. So the idea is, Islam doesn't promote. These are ideas we cannot instill in the hearts of people to make them feel it's okay. Islam says it's not okay. And every other religion says it's not okay. But now they're stuck. They're not saying, well, we're stuck with it, so we have at least safe sex. Islam completely against anything that bring you closer to that path, as I said when I talked about adultery. So Islam is a religion of prevention. That's why if you ask me why you can't have a relationship, why you can't have a girlfriend, or a Muslim can't have a boyfriend, because of the same thing. Because we say we want kids, we want our kids to know who their fathers are. All right? And most probably when they are 50% homeless, don't only blame the system. Capitalism and all that, and every system has its own problems, but also there is a father and there is a mother. Definitely one of those two is not fulfilling his responsibility or her responsibility. That's why the kid is the way he is. So everyone as a whole is part of the problem. The government, the system, the society, the neighborhood, the religious organizations, and the family. And we should not forget about the importance of the parents. A family is the building blocks of a society. If that is having problem, then the whole society will have problem. But do Muslims reach and outreach for the society? Yes, we do. And we have programs, and we try to reach and educate people and advise. But what else can you do? You advise. You can't force someone. You tell him, I'm watching you 24 surveillance camera. You cannot have a relationship before marriage. No, we can't do that. We advise. And that's mainly programs. But are we going to be involved with a program that says, okay, you want to go do it, that's fine, but we're going to teach you how to do it safe? No, we're not going to get involved with that, because we believe that's evil. Because when I talked to one of my employees, and I told her, she's having a boyfriend, I told her, why don't you just get married? You've been with him for more than 5 years. She said, doctor, marriage is only a paper. Muslims don't believe marriage is a paper. Marriage, actually, when Allah described the contract of marriage, He says, this is a very strict, serious contract. God is witness on it. Serious contract. Marriage is the building block of a society. You tell me it's a paper, then what is not? All right? So sometimes there is a conflict of mentality, that this organization promotes for this, but it's against my religion. But I will promote for the same reason or the same goal from my aspect. And then sometimes you find resistance. Right? So we try. We're very new in America, but we're working on it. Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if that really related to religion or not.
Which part?
Like, that is like a
flogging? Well, that happens to women as well as men. Okay? There are God, when we talked about God, there are laws that actions, the results of them is certain punishment. Some of those punishments, drinking alcohol, you get flogged. One of the punishment, stealing. Now, remember that these laws are practiced when the Islamic system is being implemented. For example, a Muslim, the Islamic system has to provide to the poor. But if the system is not, if it's corrupted and people stealing money, so the poor is hungry, so the poor has to steal to eat. So we're going to come and say, since you stole, we're going to cut your hand. That's the Islamic law. You steal, you get your hand chopped off. That is the law. And it's not strictly to Islam. You'll find it in Judaism and you find similar laws in Christianity. But at the same time, we don't say, because you were hungry and you stole, we're going to cut. No, you're not allowed. Okay? The Islamic law and Islamic court will not allow that. Because you left him to be hungry. You're obligated to feed him. So now when he steals, you're going to establish that. You did not establish the law of feeding him. Why you have the right to establish the law of punishing him? So once Islam is established, once the society is established, Islam is implemented, why should you steal? You steal because you have a disease. You steal, that means you're spreading evil and corruption in the society. You need to be punished. Now today, if you go to Mecca, for example, or Medina, to visit, if you're Muslim, pilgrimage or Umrah, when it's time for prayer is called, most people leave their stores open and they go pray. Stores are open, stuff are on the sidewalk. People go and pray and come back. Anything gets stolen? No. Does that mean Saudi Arabia is establishing, implementing Islam the way? Not 100%, but there is safety. There is safety. And Islam comes for security. The 5 rights of every Muslim, of every human being that Islam comes to establish: the rights for your soul, your life, the right of your honor, the right of your wealth, to protect your wealth, okay, and other too. But the point is, Islam gonna punish anyone who gonna try to attack your wealth or steal. That is the law. Now you ask me, okay, that cutting hands, that is so tough. Our prisons are full, overflowing with people. How many criminals go in jail? Because there is no space for them, they have to release them because they are worse people. They go out and they establish. Now in a period of 300 years of Islam, in the beginning, it's been reported 3 hands been chopped off. 3 hands. Don't you think that when the person knows if he gets caught, he's going to get his hand chopped, you think he won't think about it again? Or he will think, he will rethink? Maybe it looks strict to our society today. But is it a solution? Well, if 3 hands were chopped off in a long period of time, maybe it is. But again, the law is not established by any individual. Established by the Islamic government as well. So it's not open for everyone to go and start, I saw him stealing, so cut his hand. No. Okay? But the idea is to establish security. Because if you are afraid 24/7, you cannot excel. You cannot do anything. You're always scared. And you know what? That is how a lot of people live today. They're so scared, always looking behind, over their shoulders. That is not what Islam comes. I said part of Islam is peace. Islam provides peace. The law of God provides peace. So whatever you hear about established against women is also established against men when they fall in the same crime. It's not only women. Are women abused in certain Muslim countries or cultures? Yeah. Just like everyone else. Just like every other culture and every other country. They are women. If you're going to tell me that women are not abused in the United States of America, then check Google. And check videos. Videos. One video that a guy telling his kid to video while he's beating his mother. You can see it. I don't know what the subject, but that came on CNN. Right? Yeah. Does that they are Muslim men, all are angels? Heck no. Everyone has flaws, everyone has problems. But again, let's look at Islam. Is it reported that the Prophet of Islam ever hit any of his wives? No. The only time I remember in a narration is he poked one of his wives because she went after him because she thought he's going somewhere else. That's the Prophet of Allah. All right? But the idea is he used to raise his wives. He used to take them out and raise them. That's the Prophet of raising his wives. Okay? He died with his head in the lap of his wife. Okay? So that is the reality of Islam. So Islam, look at the religion. The religion is what is what teaches. Learn from the religion, not from specific people. Okay? All right. So thank you very much for...
Prophet Muhammad passed away in the lap of
Aisha. Yes.
Like, because we are reading many emails that he passed away in the lap of Fatima.
Aisha. All right. So thank you very much for having me, and I appreciate it. جزاكم الله خير. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله. جزاكم الله. السلام عليكم.